What if you built one of the biggest fast food brands in the world, sold it for millions, and then ended up suing the very company that made you a millionaire and one of the most famous faces in modern history? This is the story of Colonel Sanders, the face of KFC, and why he went to war with his own creation. Before he was the fried chicken daddy, Colonel Sanders was just a struggling businessman in Kentucky. He didn't start KFC young. He was already in his 60s. After years of failed jobs, from working the land as a farmer to selling insurance premiums, Sanders ended up perfecting a fried chicken recipe while working as a manager at a Shell service and gas station. Years later, after many small but important developments, in 1952, he began franchising what would later become Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it exploded. By the early 60s, the brand grew to more than 600 locations, nationwide recognition, and the Colonel Sanders face in a white suit became the brand itself. This will be very important later in this crazy story. But anyways, running a fast-growing corporation at the age of 74 is another story, regardless of how much you love the success. In 1964, Sanders made a life-changing decision. He sold KFC for $2 million, and adjusted to the horrible inflation of today, that's like $20 million. The buyers were corporate investors who would later sell it to a food conglomerate named Hubline Incorporated. Sanders stayed on as the company's spokesperson. He still appeared in ads, wore the iconic white suit, and was still the face. But in case you were asking what's the issue, well, he no longer had control of his creation. As the new owners scaled KFC, they made changes. They altered recipes, streamlined operations, all just to cut some costs. Sanders hated this new direction, and he slowly started a war. He called the new gravy recipe sludge. The mashed potatoes were compared with wallpaper paste. He believed they ruined his recipe, and therefore his legacy too. Because of all of this, the Colonel did something insane, as in 1968, he and his wife opened a new restaurant. It was called Claudia Sanders Dinner House. While it was the wife's name, the Sanders name and brand still was associated with KFC, and so the corporate lawyers stepped in. By the early 1970s, tensions exploded as the corporation who owned the restaurant chain sued Sanders. They claimed he violated non-compete agreements, his comments damaged their brand and sales, and that even using his own name and likeness hurt the company. Sanders didn't back down and countersued for $122 million. The Colonel argued in court that they misused his image, they made inferior food under his name, and they messed with his new family business. It turned personal, the founder against the empire. In 1975, the case was settled, and Sanders received $1 million. They agreed to let him continue the family restaurant, and the public feud cooled down. Some lesser-known fact is that insiders allegedly leaked a stipulation that said Sanders had to teach executives and other high-level employees how to properly cook the chicken. Ironic, since the original still was changed with a cheaper version. And to pay homage to the Colonel, here's the leaked original 11 herbs and spices recipe, just to thank you for watching this far. Today, KFC is owned by Yum Brands and has 25,000 locations, but behind the friendly logo of Sanders, it will always be the empire that betrayed its founder.